You know, I think when readers read your books, they feel this uncanny connection to you. And I think many feel that they are the best friend that you didn't even know you had.
Right.
How do you handle that level of connection when you finally meet your readers?
The truth is that a lot of them are the best friend I never knew I had.
Oh, wow.
One of the things that I love most about going on book tour is seeing these people who send me wonderful letters and understand with all of themselves what it is that I'm trying to say. It's not just a story of, oh, here's a woman who overcomes her loss of a husband. It's about a lot of things, about women living in these times, for example, or about children, or about the joy of domesticity. And they resonate to that, and they resonate to that because they're the same kind of person I am. So we really could be friends if we all lived in the same neighborhood.
Boy, wouldn't that be fun? We could have a little Elizabeth Berg community.
Well, it wouldn't be an Elizabeth Berg community. It would be a wash on the line and pie in the oven community, wouldn't it? I mean, it would. So my favorite is when people are very relaxed about that. I like when they feel that they're friends and they just come up and they start talking like we've always been friends, and I love that. I much prefer that to the sort of deferential Ms. Berg and, you know, standing back a few feet and, you know, being nervous like I am around writers I admire. So,
oh, really? You're nervous around writers you admire?
Yeah, I mean,
really, even though you've been on the other side and you live on the other side.
I was in the airport lounge one time, and Joni Mitchell, who's not a, well, she is a writer. I mean, her lyrics are amazing. She was in there, and I nearly passed out. I admire her so much. And I didn't want to go up and say, oh, Ms. Mitchell, I love your lyrics so much. I've listened to all your, I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what, so I just hovered, and she went up and got some coffee, and I said, okay, that's it. Because I'd been to her concert the night before, so I went up and I said, I was at your concert last night, and it was wonderful.
My goodness.
And she said, oh yeah, well, the bass line, and she started talking about all these technical things about the concert, about which I knew nothing, and I nodded sagely, yeah. And then I said, well, you know, see you, and my heart rate was about 50 billion beats a minute, and then I tell everybody, I saw Joni Mitchell. So yeah, I'm a fool.
That's great.
You know,
like the rest of us.
Well, like some people, but some people are again very relaxed with me, which I appreciate. Yeah.
Well, when I read your work, you talked a little bit all about themes that really kind of pop up, you know, the clothesline and pie on the line kind of. I think of really
pie on the line.
Pie on the line.
That would be so good.
That would be yummy.
Hang up little saucers with pie slices. Yeah.
I like that. But there are 4 themes that really come to my mind, and when I read your work, and that is family, friendship, faith, and food. And I love those.
That's right.
Yeah, and I'd like to talk a little bit about each of those. If we talk about family, for instance, you're not afraid to write about the dysfunctional family in great detail.
That's right. Yeah.
And I love that. You know, you have Caroline, for instance, who admits abuse in The Art of Mending, or Ginny and Charla's mom in What We Keep, who leaves them, you know. How do you write about these characters, especially with what you just said about how the character unfolds, that are really quite unlovable, and yet we find ourselves loving them in spite of their dysfunction?
Or perhaps because of them, even.
Yeah.
Olive Kitteridge by Elizabeth Strout is a book I greatly admire, and at its center is a very unsympathetic character, described by many as completely unlikable. But what happens is you bypass liking and go straight to loving, in my opinion. I love that character, and I think the reason that I say that, as well as so many others, is that there's a little Olive in me. And so when people read my books about dysfunctional families, about cruel people, about people who are unsympathetic for myriad reasons, they understand their own imperfections, and in a way it makes them comfortable. and
Like, I know
that
this.
leads to a kind of a kind of likability. Also, I think it must be said that beautiful, well-behaved people are boring to read about on the page. They are. We like our villains.
Okay.
You know?
I'm trying
Otherwise,
to
how
think
do
who
you
would
account for all
be-
the murder books and
I
mean, you know, these grisly horror novels. I mean, my mother
Yeah.
likes these grisly, scary. The scarier they are, the better.
Really?
She likes them. Yeah.
It didn't
You'd
trickle
never
down.
know.
Yeah.
You would never know. No, it didn't trickle down. No.